Welcome, everybody, to the Early Edge. It is Wednesday. I am the Counselor of Cash, and we've actually got a full day ahead of us with picks. You might be thinking, well, there's no baseball today. It seems like a break in all of sports. Well, WNBA, that's over on SportsLine. We've got soccer picks today. We got Summer League picks today, and we've got golf picks today because the golf tournament, the Scottish Open, it actually starts way earlier than expected. So I got to give these plays out this morning instead of tomorrow morning. Speaking of picks, let's take a look at the recap screen. Well, we see some X's here. Now, mind you, some of these were plus 380, plus 2,000, plus 146, plus 250. A lot of plus money plays, but honestly, they didn't come in. Fortunately, my first five came in. EC hit a bet there at plus 110. But we'll do better today for sure. Let's look at the CS Sports HQ schedule real quick. I was just on there a few minutes ago. You could caught some golf content, but no worries. I'll be on again at 6 o'clock. But before that, the Maestro, Larry Hartstein at 1 o'clock. I'll be on with Patrick McDonald, with the Maestro, and with the Sniper, Matt Snyder, at 6 o'clock. You can catch the CBS Sports HQ programming all day long. One other thing you can catch is the early wedge from yesterday. We have my picks in there. They're all in there. You can catch them on SportsLine too. But by the way, I gave some extra picks out on the show. So check that out. It was some picks on the Barbasol Championship, but you want to get all the information that we gave out on that show. It was a ton of information. AB helped me out with that one. And don't forget, the Open Championship is next week. The early wedge will be back, of course, at 3 o'clock on Tuesdays with the coach, with Patrick McDonald, myself, and Steve Scott. All right. That's enough of that. Let's bring in the stars of the show, and let's get right to our first segment, the marquee matchups. In this case, we're going to pick the prop, and it's going to be a little bit different. We are going to pick the MLB prop, and what we're looking for is which one of these MLB playoff long shots has the best shot to make the playoffs. Maestro, I'm going to start with you. We've got the Mariners at plus 310, the Angels plus 750, the Padres plus 265, the Red Sox at plus 260, Mets at plus 400, and the Cubs at plus 550. Which one of these teams do you think has a shot to make it into the playoffs?
I like the Mariners at plus 310. They win 7 of 9 coming into the break. They've got the fourth best team ERA in the American League. And you look at starters with Kirby and Castillo and, Gilbert and the rookie Wu that they just brought up. So the pitching has been there. The hitting is finally starting to come around. They're only 4 games out right now. Then they're 1 game over 500, but they have a run differential plus 35 or plus 36. So they're actually better than their record. And they turned it on last year, made the playoffs for the first time in over 20 years. I think they can do it again, especially since they're starting to hit a little.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. Amags, before I kick it to you, I agree with Maestro here. I think it's the Mariners. I love what their rotation looks like, especially for a team that's on the outside looking in. I mean, you compare them to like the Orioles, who I'm an Orioles fan. I think they could easily fall out of the wild card chase, and you could have the Seattle Mariners end up catching them. And I like what Larry said about the run differential. I didn't know that stat. And the fact that the bats are popping and we have this type of rotation for Seattle, man, vibes are pretty good. So that's actually my pick. But Amags, where are you going with this?
Yeah, I definitely like that pick of Seattle, and I think you guys are thinking about it the right way. When I think about these picks, I want to look for a team that I not only think can make it in through the wild card, but also their division. And pretty much every other team besides the one I'm about to go with does not have a chance to win their division. So I'm going to take the Cubs at plus 550. But like I just said, I like them to win the division. So I would take them plus 850 to win their division behind Cincy and the Brewers. They're only 6 games back of first place in the loss column. And when you look at this Cubs team, they're the only one in the NL Central with a positive run differential. I do think moving forward, Steele and Stroman at the top of their rotation are 2 really good starters that they can anchor behind. This lineup definitely can hit as long as they don't sell off their pieces in Bellinger and a few others, but Bellinger being the main one there. So you get a few guys, Swanson, Magical back from injury. I like what they can do. And by some of the metrics, the Cubs have the easiest schedule remaining of any team in the majors.
Yeah, well, that's another thing I didn't know in terms of easy schedule. So I definitely like that play. For the record, I thought about the Red Sox as well, but I ended up deferring to the Seattle Mariners for me. All right, well, listen, we got another cool segment coming up about NFL conference winners before we get to our, again, Wednesday All-Star break, to our full slate of picks, which I'm really looking forward to. But the thing I'm looking forward to the most is the message from our partners.
Get breaking news,
big news coming out of the NFL today,
highlights, and instant reaction.
The largest final round comeback in Ford championship history. We're down to the final four.
I just want to take time to analyze greatness.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
Now, everybody, you should all know that we are Clay Matthews days away from NFL kickoff. That, of course, is 57 days away from NFL kickoff. That kickoff will, of course, feature the Kansas City Chiefs at home against the Detroit Lions. And by the way, that's a 55-point total, the highest total of the week, one of the higher totals we're probably going to see in the first handful of weeks. Probably going to be a very exciting game to bet on, showdown slate, all of that DFS stuff. But let's talk about something else when it comes to the NFL before we get to our picks. NFL division favorites. Now, I'll tell you, the Early Edge team, the SportsLine team, we're going to be doing a lot of content. You're going to see a lot of it on social media, but of course, you're going to see the shows as well, the shows, the podcast. We're going to be doing a lot on actual futures, and we've already done some NFL division favorites, win totals, things of that nature. You just saw Larry release a piece on TikTok and YouTube, among other outfits, about some of his win totals that he loves. And honestly, I co-sign a couple of those as well in a big way. Kind of high on the Browns this year. I know Larry is as well. But let's start, Larry. I'm going to start with you. Let's talk NFL division favorites. Which one of these preseason division favorites would you take to win their division?
I'm going with the Detroit Lions, and excuse me for going against everything that history tells us, that they will always let us down, that they will always fail, because I do believe this is a new era. When you finish 8-2 down the stretch, when your brilliant OC, Ben Johnson, does not move on and is back to lead an offense that not only has Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Jameson Williams coming back after the gambling suspension, and then Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, the most exciting rookie in the NFL, averaged over 6 yards to carry, over 10 yards to catch. He's going to be electric. The offensive line is strong, scored 30-plus points 8 times, and the defense was not as bad down the stretch. They add 4 good cornerbacks, starting with Brian Branch out of Alabama, but also Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So they have beefed up the defensive backfield, and you look at that division, we know Minnesota was very fortunate last year. They won every coin flip game imaginable. The Bears, coming off a 3-win season, should be better. And then the Packers replacing Aaron Rodgers with Jordan Love. So I think it's wide open for the Lions this season at plus 120. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I definitely think the Lions are probably the right play. I'll tell you, I kind of like the Vikings, where you can get them in some places at like plus 300, plus 310. In other places, it's plus 250, so it's not quite as attractive. But I get the Lions argument. I do think the Vikings have done some things on defense, maybe to improve the defensive backfield a little bit. And I still think offensively, they've got what it takes to at least compete with the Lions. I'll tell you, the last 3 games for the Minnesota Vikings, 2 of them are against the Lions. The other one is against the Green Bay Packers. So that's really going to be interesting. This division really could be decided in the last 3 weeks. Martin, we haven't heard from you yet. And before I give out my pick, I do want to ask you, I see the Philadelphia Eagles on this screen, and I got to think, you're not necessarily an American football guy. You're a football guy, but not an American football guy. It's got to be the Eagles at minus 105, right, Martin?
Indeed, Sia. That just looks like a terrific price on the Eagles when you consider they cruised the division title last year and they've strengthened in the offseason. So I don't see why they can't go on and win it this time around. Minus 105 looks like a great set of odds. Could even parlay them with the Chiefs to win their division. Looks like a very good option to me.
Well. Maybe he is an American football guy, because I got to tell you, folks, let's put in the chat awesome stuff, Martin, or something like that. That's I didn't expect that. I got to be honest with you. Listen, I know you to be a soccer guy. I didn't know you were an American football guy, and you took the words right out of my mouth. I like the Eagles minus 105. I think, listen, Martin, to your point, I think this is a pretty generous price. And the reason I say that is because as good as the Giants are, I think they can compete for a wild card, but I don't think they can compete for the division. And so to me, this is almost a head-to-head matchup, kind of like what you'd see in the NFC West with the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, we know Arizona and the Rams are not going to be competing there. So that's kind of why I like paying the steep price on the Niners, but I prefer to pay the minus 105 on the Eagles because against Dallas, listen, Dallas is going to be good. Their offensive line seems to be back to full health. They're going to have Tony Pollard. They're not going to have the anchor of Ezekiel Elliott weighing them down. No Kellen Moore calling plays. I don't think that's a huge loss, but maybe a loss. Either way, the Eagles went from rich to richer, especially in the draft, increasing the presence on that defensive line specifically. Obviously in the running game, they've got that. They got Mariota as a backup to Jalen Hurts, which I think is a serviceable backup. And of course, they still have Devontae Smith, Goddard, AJ Brown. The trenches for the Eagles on both sides of the ball are just so good. And so I think, honestly, I would probably put this number at like minus 130, minus 135. As good as the Cowboys might be and as exciting as the Giants might be, unfortunately, my Washington Commanders probably not in that conversation. But Maestro, before we get to our picks, I want to kick it to you. What do you think of that and anything else on these NFL division winners?
The one thing I want to direct your attention to is on the website every single day, we're rolling out 2 teams with a full team preview. You're getting a win total opinion from RJ, Mike, myself, and you're getting a season-long prop from Alex with every single team. We're rolling out 2 a day. It's already underway. Really check it out. It's really good content. Excuse me.
So, Larry, just to be super clear, if somebody were to go, do they go to the app or do they go to the site or both? It's out there both ways, right?
Yeah, just go to NFL analysis and you'll see it team by team with a win total pick. And in each one, we're saying, is it a lean or is it a best bet, etc.
Click on analysis. And speaking of clicking on analysis, if you want, you can go there right now, click on analysis, and you'll see some WNBA articles. We've got, Larry, 6 games today, some throughout the afternoon, some this evening. There are already WNBA bets on the SportsLine app at sportsline.com that you can find under the analysis tab. Again, we have the picks tab and we have the analysis tab. Some of those picks are going to be there, especially those WNBA ones on a slow sports day. Listen, WNBA, we've got some people that know what they're doing there. So make sure you tap into that app all places, because like Larry said, some people don't know that some of this content is there. We can't tell you every single thing that is on the SportsLine app. You kind of have to go investigate, and then you'll find you'll be busy because there's a lot of content to read. And there's another message to hear from our partners.
And how about this? Get ready for non-stop action that will have you say, "You gotta be kidding!" Oh my, Canada! This could change things. What a play and what a finish! That's some pretty good football, eh? He's gone all the way to the house. It's the Canadian Football League, Thursday on CBS Sports Network.
We are back. It's a Wednesday. It's the early edge. It appears to be an off day at a lot of other brands, but I got to tell you, we've got a full slate of picks, just like we've had the last 2 days. We'll have picks tomorrow. We'll have picks Friday when baseball resumes, and it'll be back in action. Of course, we'll be creeping closer and closer to the NFL. Now, we have a lot of bets that are going basically today. One of my bets, because it's the Scottish Open, will be starting basically at 2 in the morning. So in, 12, 14 hours. But Amags, you have a pick that's a future. So I want to hear about it.
Yes, yeah, I do. And with baseball, being in the downtime right now and us looking a little bit deeper for some of these plays, I went with a future, like you said, and I'm going to ride or hop on the train and ride, I should say, this Houston Astros team to win the division. It's plus 120 on Caesars right now. It's actually about minus 110, minus 115 on some other books. So I like this plus 120 price that we're getting. And, when you look at the difference in teams here, the Astros, in terms of injuries, they're set to get back Alvarez, Altuve, Jose Urquidy. Framber Valdez just missed a start recently with an ankle injury, but he looks to be back and healthy now. So you compare that with Texas, that's fully healthy. If they were to have just 1 or 2 injuries in that lineup to some of those key pieces, the team looks a whole lot different. And when you look at Houston, what they have left for this year, first off, Houston is 8-0 right now against the 3 worst teams in the league in Colorado, Kansas City, and Oakland. And they're going to head into the second half with 15 games against those teams. Texas has already played 16 of their games against those 3 teams, and they only have 6 left. So I do like the matchups there for the Houston Astros. There's a significant decrease in their strength of schedule. Houston has one of the easiest schedules moving forward. And Texas actually has one of the top 5 toughest schedules for the second half of the year here. So with only a 2-game lead now, Houston has cut that from 6.5 3 weeks ago to now only 2 games heading into the break. I like where Houston is headed, and I'm going to, like I said, ride them to the end of the year here on this to win the division bet.
Yeah, as much as we have been betting and hitting on Texas, we do see maybe Houston kind of taking off in the second half for all those reasons. And if I can just channel Coach real quick, do you want to do that work? I personally don't. So, Amags, I'm glad you did. And speaking of the work that I did, let's bring up my golf bets. Now, this is really interesting when it comes to golf. We have the Scottish Open. This tournament, instead of starting at like 6, 7 in the morning, like most tournaments start, because it's over in Scotland, it's actually going to start at 2 in the morning. So the really cool thing is I have 2 round 1 matchups that you can find at DraftKings, perhaps other places as well. And this one starts, the first one, Aaron Ryan minus 115 over Lucas Herbert. It actually starts at 2 in the morning, 2:15, I believe, which means that when we're on the early edge tomorrow morning at 10, we're already going to know whether this bet hit or not. And I'll tell you about the bet. Listen, Lucas Herbert has actually been very good on this course. He's had back-to-back 4th place finishes, but it's Aaron Ryan who's coming in with the better recent form. We know he splashed for us as a 110-1 shot as a first-round leader just a month ago. He really is a first-round monster, and his form coming in is just so much better than Lucas Herbert. And oh, by the way, he's actually won the Scottish Open before in 2020, and he was 9th place in 2018. So give me Aaron Ryan minus 115 over Lucas Herbert. And then the next pick is Gary Woodland minus 115 over Kurt Kitayama. This one starts also before tomorrow's early edge. It starts around 8 o'clock in the morning, which means we'll be in the middle of that round as we are doing Thursday's morning early edge. So I think that'll be kind of exciting to kind of know where we're at there. The Aaron Ryan one will be done. Gary Woodland will be in the middle of hopefully beating Kurt Kitayama. I love Gary Woodland's form lately. The putter can really let him down, but I do think this course lends itself to team no putt a little bit, and Woodland's putter hasn't been horrible. And what's been great with Woodland is the ball striking. Kurt Kitayama's recent form, not a very good look. So I really like Gary Woodland. Of the two, I actually prefer Gary Woodland's matchup over Kurt rather than Aaron Ryan over Lucas Herbert, but I like them both. I'm just making the point that I really like Gary Woodland over Kurt Kitayama at this number, minus 115. So those are my 2 golf picks. They're going to be basically we're going to be in the midst of them tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. One of them will be completed. So that's going to be really exciting. Martin, I've kept you quiet all show long. We've got what looks to be some MLS picks among other soccer picks.
That's correct, Sia. Yeah, while the early wedge crew has trained its collective focus on the British Isles, I'm looking in the other direction because there's no soccer taking place over here. So I am focused stateside, and I'm starting with the New York Red Bulls versus Cincinnati FC. These teams drew 1-1 in the US Open Cup back in May. I think both teams should score once again when they renew hostilities this evening at the Red Bull Arena. The Red Bulls have scored in their last 4 games. They had an impressive 2-1 victory over New England at the weekend. Cincy have scored in 8 out of 10 away games so far this season. The odds on both teams to score at minus 115 look very attractive to me. And elsewhere, Jamaica will take on Mexico at the Death Star in Las Vegas in the CONCACAF Gold Cup semi-finals. The Mexicans are naturally the favourites. They're the favourites to win the overall tournament, playing very well. But Jamaica have scored 11 goals in 4 games so far in this competition. They drew 1-1 with the USA, scored 10 goals in 3 matches since then. They have the likes of Mikhail Antonio, Damari Gray, Leon Bailey and Bobby De Cordova-Reid up front. They're all Premier League stars, and I think they could cause Mexico a few problems going forward. So both teams to score looks great on this one too, at longer odds of plus 115.
I absolutely love it. And Maestro, before I get to you, I do want to point out there was somebody in the chat that asked, hey, how do I learn about DFS? Well, I'll tell you, you can watch the early wedge. We talk about DFS there. You can watch the First Cut pod, which I'm on every Monday. And that literally is a DFS show as it pertains to golf. And just yesterday, Fantasy Football Today DFS, I recorded a show with special guest TJ Hernandez, but we'll be doing that basically all summer and all year. We'll be talking about DFS. And that show, the co-host of that show, co-analyst, is none other than Mike McClure. So me and him will be going back and forth talking NFL DFS the entire NFL season and leading up to the NFL season. That includes the preseason. So please make sure you are subscribed to FFT DFS, to the First Cut, and to the Early Wedge SportsLine. All of those things. It's a lot of DFS content right there. Speaking of a lot of content, Larry, you've got a football future, which is very interesting, and you've got a summer league pick, which I absolutely love because that's happening today, right?
Today, 7:30 p.m. on NBA TV, the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers have been awesome in the summer league, but Andrew Nembhard, Ben Mathurin, and Isaiah Jackson, who have been their 3 best players, that's it for them. They went 2-0. They played great, and now they're going to let the younger guys, because those are second and third year players, they're going to let the younger guys take over, whereas OKC rested everyone last night on the first night of a back-to-back against the Rockets. They didn't play well, but tonight the reports are that Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Jang, and all the guys that were rested last night are going to be back in the lineup. So I see the money moving to OKC. I'm on OKC. You can get this at 1.5 also, but just to play it safe, I'd rather take it on the money line. And then in the NFL, New England Patriots under 2.5 division wins, coming back at -125 on DraftKings. They're not favored in any of their 6 division games. Now, they won 3 division games last year. What did they do? They beat Zach Wilson twice, including once on a late punt return as time expired. And they beat the combo of Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. They did not beat Tua. They did not beat Aaron Rodgers. And they did not beat Josh Allen. And I'm just down on this Patriots team when you have starting wideouts like they do, that Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker. Those are not explosive weapons. There's not a lot of separation there. The defense will be solid, but this division is so tough. I do not see them getting to 3-3.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a tough division, top to bottom. And unfortunately for New England, they're at the bottom of that division when we're talking about talent and expectation. So absolutely love that pick. Well, I'll tell you what, gentlemen, I think it's time to bring up the recap screen. Let's take a look at our picks today and in the future. I've got 2 golf picks for round 1. Aaron Ryan -115 over Lucas Herbert. Again, that starts at 2 in the morning. Gary Woodland -115 over Kurt Kitayama. That starts around 8 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Martin Green, our American football savant, has some football picks. New York Red Bulls, Cincinnati FC, both teams to score -115. Jamaica and Mexico, both teams to score at +115. Amags, future on the Astros to win the division, fading the Rangers. Astros are +120 to win the division. Nice number there. And the Maestro is on the Patriots future under 2.5 division wins at -125. And tonight, I believe he said 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, we've got NBA Summer League action. Oklahoma City money line -120. What a full show. Did you expect that? Because if you didn't, you need to apologize to me right now, because we bring you a full show every single time, including tomorrow, including later today, and including all over the place on CBS Sports HQ, which you could have found me about an hour ago. And in a few hours from now, I'll be there too, along with the Maestro and several other people. But I got to tell you, that's all the damage we can do today. So what do I do next? You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window for the Maestro, for Martin Green, and for Amags. I am the counselor, and we rest our case.